Hey, everybody. Uh-oh, don't scare. I'm live, you guys. Okay. Something out of my drink. Okay. So I'm coming on a little bit early. Let me see what's going on. Hi, you guys. Okay. Hey guys, what's up, everybody? Okay, so bear with me, y'all. Bear with me. What I need to do is I need to get the link over here that for y'all to come share, and I need to also put it on the Facebook side where people on Facebook can see it. So just bear with me for a second. Okay. That's that. Okay, now, how do I need to get it over there to Facebook side? I guess what I can do is go. Hey, y'all, come on in. Hey, Sonia. Oh, man, I bet you did, girl. I bet you did. Hey, Sonia, I bet you it's easier for you to do it. Do you see the link that I put in the chat here on the YouTube side? Can you go and copy that link and put it on the comment it on the Facebook side? Because the Facebook people can't see that link on their side. That way I can pin it over there so people will know that they can come and join us if they want to come up and share. Do you know what I'm saying? Excuse me. Sorry about, I'm burping, y'all. They can come and join us if they want to come up and share. All right. I see you. Thank you, Sonia. You're the bomb. Okay. Pin this comment. Okay, cool. All right. So what's up? How's everybody doing today? So the other day we went live and we had some people come on and share. We had different people, and that's what that's what's so great about this, you guys, is that because I'm an addict in recovery, you know, the base of my following is also addicts in recovery or addicts that are struggling. So we had some kids who have been affected by addiction and their parents were addicted. We had the sister of an addict and the niece of an alcoholic. We had somebody who's struggling with addiction come on and talk to people who are struggling with addiction. And so that was awesome. I thought that went really, really great. Now, I know a lot of you guys that are on my YouTube side you're younger. Okay. So this is what I was thinking. I think it's unfair to say that you can't come up and share if you're not 18. So here's how I figured we could combat that. If you want to come up and share and you're under 18, then you need to not show your face and do not say your real name. Okay. Because I don't want anyone to be able to know who you are or contact you in any way, shape, or form. Okay. I don't want nobody to get hurt. I don't want nobody's parents to get mad at them because this shit's live. You know, we're all over the internet. So also be mindful of that. Like, if you have any second guess in your heart that you shouldn't be coming up here and sharing, then just don't do it. You know, of course, I would love for everybody to be 18 or older, but I know that that's not feasible right now, especially with as many people have been reaching out to me through my cell phone. Some of y'all are crazy. You know that? I've been getting some funny text messages from y'all. I woke up this morning and somebody texted me and asked me if I knew the Muffin Man. Then yesterday I was getting text messages, and all of a sudden I opened it up and it was a BBC. What does y'all think with sending me pictures of BBCs? Do you think I want to see that? I got my own over here at the house that I'm married to. I don't need to see that. So, Lord help me, y'all. Sometimes I don't think before I do things, and I just put my phone number all over the internet for all God and everybody to see. When a video hit 2 million views, and people from all over the United States of America and surrounding countries are text messaging me now. So, Lord, help me, Jesus. So I need to tweak that a little bit and say, if you are struggling, you can always call that number, and then say that. But no hard feelings. I'm not upset with anybody. You know, I know you guys are young and you think it's funny. Just remember that when you are texting me like funny stuff or jokes, remember that your text messages is taking away from somebody who maybe really does need help, who is struggling. Okay. So always keep that in mind. Like when you're monopolizing somebody's time, like me, who I don't get paid to do this, I'm putting myself out there, you know, online for free, giving information out on how to contact me. Be mindful of that, because, you know, there's people out there who really don't even know where to begin, and they're really, really struggling. Okay. So, honestly, I don't know what we're going to do today, but I know that y'all can come up and share. So how's everybody's week been going? Is everybody in the good spot? If you're in recovery, let me know how long you've been sober. If you're not in recovery, that's okay too. Tell me something that you're struggling with, and maybe we can talk about that. Okay. You guys are more than welcome to come up and talk about how addiction has affected you. You're more than welcome to come and talk about, you know, your own addiction if you are struggling with addiction. And like I said, you don't have to show your face if you don't want to. You can just leave that like avatar thingy up, you know? So I'm doing good. Yesterday, my little boy had his best friend over, and guess what, y'all? He's back over again today. My son and his friend Zane are like, they're joined at the hip. And so they always want to kick it together. And so I don't say where he, you know, I want my son to be able to have friends and stuff, so they could come over. Hey, Kelly, thanks for becoming a member, girl. I really appreciate that. For real. Thank you. Hey, Wendy, what's up, girl? Hey, Wendy, I think you got my message I sent back to you, because you DM'd me. And that's another thing that I want to talk to you guys about. So on the Facebook side of things, so for you guys that don't know, the reason why I'm saying Facebook and YouTube side is because I'm live on both platforms at the same time right now. I'm live on Facebook and I'm live on YouTube. So we're all together. On the Facebook side of things, like it's becoming like way too much for me to get back to every single message in a timely fashion. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I'm the kind of person that if I know that I have messages from people, like eventually I'm going to go through all of them and check them. But I just don't want you guys to like try to reach out to me through my messenger and then not get responded to quick enough, because it's so many messages. And what's making it really difficult is all the spam messages from like online dating sites and shit like that. Like, I don't even know why that's even doing that, but it's hard to, I have to sift through all of you guys' shit, you know, to find the real people who really need help. So let me do a little brief introduction, tell you guys about memberships, and then we'll open up the floor. Y'all can come up and share, and we'll just let it go naturally like that. Okay. So my name is Nicole Ploudre. I have been sober since July 13th of 2015. I actually got sober when my son was taken from me by Child Protective Services. Wouldn't wish that shit upon my worst enemy. Anytime. I was addicted to multiple substances. I was polydrug addicted. So I was addicted to intravenous methamphetamine, opiates, cocaine, and Xanax. I smoked weed. I did some ecstasy on the side, you know, that kind of stuff. But those were the main drugs that I really abused a lot. Methamphetamine and opiates being the number 1 and 2. I got into using drugs when I was young. I was only 17 years old, and I thought it was cool. I thought the people that I was hanging out with were cool, and I wanted to fit in, and I had low self-esteem. So it was just the perfect recipe for disaster for me to pick up drugs, like the way it made me feel, and then continue doing it, you know? Um, Shortly after I started using drugs when I was 17 years old, I was buying drugs at 18, you know, so I was fully addicted by then. I've been to 7 different treatment centers, in and out of several different sober living houses, and I did about 1 year in prison back in 2009. Don't worry, I'm not dangerous. I did a prison stint for possession of a controlled substance, which is methamphetamine. And the reason why I did that prison stint was because I was placed on probation and I didn't meet the terms of my probation. I kept on failing drug tests over and over and over again. And so that's when they decided to revoke my probation and send me to prison. And my little boy, I met my husband in 2012, and we got pregnant with my son in 2013, and we had him July 4th of 2014. And that's when I decided to get sober 1 year after my son was born. So that's a little bit about me. I'm super open minded. I support all pathways to recovery. I do utilize medication assisted treatment, which is Suboxone, and I've been on that for 7 years. I started out on 12 milligrams, and I've been able to taper down to like under a half a milligram. And so I've been really, really doing good with that. And I'm here to support anybody in any area of your life if you're struggling with addiction. I try to go live every single day. So, like, I'm not just saying I'm here to support you and then I'm not doing anything. Like, I'm here live every day. If I don't come on live, like, I'll always let you know what's going on. So, okay. First, what I want to do, you guys, is I want to give anybody a chance to come up here who's over on Facebook, okay? Because over on Facebook the other day, we weren't able to get people up because they didn't see the link to the chat. So if you're somebody who follows me on Facebook and you really, really want to come up and share, I linked a way for you to join. It's pinned at the top of the comments. Okay. So all you have to do, I'm live on both, Jessica. So all you have to do is click that link that I pinned. It's Sonia Lobel's link, and that will bring you to the backstage of the live stream, and then I can put you on the camera. I really appreciate you. If you want to come over to YouTube, I can put the link to the YouTube channel in the Facebook chat, and you guys can come over to YouTube if you'd rather just do it that way. Okay. But while I'm waiting to see if anybody wants to come up, I'm going to let Oh Hey come up because she's did a really good job of speaking and sharing the other day, and we can probably keep a good conversation going until somebody else is ready to come up. What's up, girl?
This is another person.
Oh, it
is
is
the same girl.
Well,
Yeah.
welcome. You have the same.
Hi.
Y'all have the same name, but that's okay. Oh well. Tell us about what's going
put
on.
my name on here because
It's
like I'm not over the age of 18 yet, so I
perfect.
just did something like this, and I wanted to talk about addiction towards my father because he has been addicted to certain types of drugs, and it's kind of hard for me to speak about, but I want to speak about it because I've talked about it and it makes me feel better. But when so my mother met my father like when she was kind of young, and she met him, right? And they got really close, and then they started dating. And then when my mom found out she was pregnant with me, my father was not happy with that. And also, my father was controlling. And when he found out that she was pregnant with me, that relationship became abusive. So she left him, right? And I didn't see him for the good 3 years of my life at the time. So when I got to see him, it was I didn't think he was my dad, but he was nice to me sometimes. But then, like, when he would do, like, certain types of drugs, like, he would do, he would do heroin a lot. I remember that. And he was not the same person. Because my father's a really nice guy. He's really sweet. But then when you get on, like, certain drugs, it literally changes you. It's, like, not the same person. like at all. And when I
Absolutely.
started getting older, he became like really abusive towards me and my cousin and his girlfriend at the time, which I don't want to name out her name because I don't think that's right and I don't think she deserves that. But I always became like scared of my father to tell him anything because I didn't want to get hurt because at the time I never felt safe around him. So like at the time I had like a little phone because I don't know. I was like 10 or 11 and I would like look at the text that me and my mother had like while I was there, and I would start crying because I missed her because I didn't feel safe.
Yeah.
And I believe I don't, you know, kind of regret it because like they would fight so much, and he would try to put me into the fight, and I don't think a child deserves to be into a fight that didn't even involve them because that's so scary. And
Yeah,
it's
listen to
just
me. Like, I want to tell you something. Like, just so you know, like everything that happened is nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. Like when we use drugs and alcohol, whether we have kids or not, like there's something going on within us. Like, I guess I could equate it to like imagine being really, really depressed or having like a really hard time with anxiety, and then you seek something out to make you feel better in drugs and alcohol, and when you take that, it changes the way you feel. Do you know what I'm
yeah,
saying? And so then you're like, oh, wow, this makes me feel better. I'm going to take this and I'll feel better. But then eventually what happens is that drug that used to make you feel better starts making you act different, you start having withdrawals, or you start getting in trouble, you start depending on it more and more. And so just so you know, like your dad, I'm sure loves you, but it wasn't anything to do with you. It wasn't your fault or anything.
yeah, it's just like drugs can really change a person. Like change how they act. I would put it as this: they're like addicted. It's like your favorite food or favorite drink, and you get addicted to it, and you start drinking it every single day, and it starts becoming really bad for you. And I just, it really did change him. And then when I was like around like 13 or 14, I told a therapist because at the time my mom had a baby, so I didn't get to talk to her very much about things, right? And so I would talk to a therapist, which I told her that he was doing those things to me, and I was told to talk to my mother about it, and I got a restraining order on him. And I told her like he would threaten to do things to me. He would hit me. Like he would just do really, really mean things to me. And I don't think. And also, he would do it around at the time almost. He had many girlfriends, but I'm gonna call this girlfriend P because I don't want to say her name. But P, she had three other children, and when they would fight, it would be so like violent. And me and my older cousin had to do something about it and bring them up to a different room because they don't deserve to see that. Because when I saw that, it's just so traumatizing. It like, when you just stand there and you're just scared, like you just shake.
Yeah.
Because I don't think any child deserves to see that. Because it's just, and
Absolutely
it's
not.
just,
And that's, listen, drugs are no excuse for being violent, like and hitting you or threatening you. Like that's just I don't that's no excuse. So I don't want you to think that I am like saying that's okay, because it's not at all. That's never
yeah,
acceptable. And if you are feeling unsafe and that's happening, you need to get out of there as soon as you can. Immediately call somebody that you trust, call your mom, another adult, a counselor, somebody that you look up to that you trust, and remove for yourself from that situation so you're not in danger. And if you have younger siblings who are also in that situation, like you get yourself out and then you get help and you bring help to get them out.
yeah. And I think after like so many things that my father did, because at the time I believe it was like 2016 to 2017, I don't really remember, but my aunt was fed up with his behavior towards the children and towards me, towards everyone in the house, because he was just being very disrespectful. And the only time he would do things or like he was okay. Sometimes he would starve us from in because he would just be in his room doing whatever he was doing because he was too lazy to come downstairs, and it's just I don't I think it traumatized also P because I remember my father threw her across the room, and I don't think, and most of his girlfriends or like the ones in the past, he would always like have fights, like physical fights, like not like beating them, but like pushing them or putting their hands on, like putting his hands on them. And I don't think that's right at all.
No. Have you been able to like get out of that situation and like how are you doing now? Are you like living with your mom? Are you safe? Tell us how that's going.
I am safe. I have a restraining order on him. I can't see him, but I can see my family on my father's side. Like, I mean, my mom has lost trust in my family because they kept secrets. I mean, from her, because they don't weren't trying to get hurt from him because my father's kind of scary. So, but I'm safe now. I'm just there's some things that scare me. I don't like unsober people. I don't know. I get scared by them.
Can I
Like
ask you some
people with that.
questions? Um,
Yes, ma'am.
did your dad use around you or did he try to hide it from you?
He used it around me.
Um,
Like I would be downstairs and he would be doing things like those. I don't want to get into detail because that's
yeah,
kind of
I understand what you're
sensitive.
saying. So you
Um,
knew exactly what was going on. There was no hiding it. He was just doing it.
and he tried to like make me do it, and I don't think I said no because also
Good for
secondhand
you.
smoke because he would try to force me to smoke weed,
Yeah.
and I just didn't want to do that because also secondhand smoke is also not good for me, which that could have caused my asthma. Could have caused
Yeah,
that.
it can definitely contribute to that. And good for
Yeah.
you for saying no. That's never, don't ever, ever, ever take drugs from anybody, even if it's your dad or your mom or your best friend, because
Yeah.
with the way things are nowadays, you could die. You know, fentanyl is being put in all kinds of different things, and all it takes is one pill to kill. So
Yeah.
good for you. That's a huge, I'm so proud of you for not doing that. You know, some kids would say, all right, man, I can get messed up and I can go party and do all this stuff,
Yeah.
but you chose to do the right thing. So fucking hell yeah, proud for you. That's awesome.
Thank you. Because I see how it affects people, and I just don't want to get addicted because in my father's side, also sometimes on my mother's side, it's addicted, you know? Like my mom's kind of smoked cigarettes for a little bit of my life because when she was with, like Taylor, he's like my father figure. I'm gonna call him Taylor because his name's longer, but he was like my father figure, and they would smoke cigarettes, and then when she got fed up with smoking cigarettes, but like people can have addictions but not like be so addicted to it that they can't live without it. Like they can't do
Absolutely. So
anything.
there's like functioning addictions, like, you know, like cigarette smoking, or some people can drink alcohol and they only drink every now and then, you know, or they're like semi dependent to it. But like drugs like heroin and meth and cocaine, like those drugs are really hard to just abuse every now and then because they get you the feeling produced. And this is why I tell you guys, you don't ever have to worry about becoming addicted if you don't try. Okay. Because that first time that you try, I can tell you from experience, you will never feel that feeling again. That first time that you try, it's going to feel like you've gone to heaven. Okay. But then when you come back and you try to get that feeling again, you will forever chase that feeling and you will never be able to get it again. What a crock. What a waste, huh? So good. I'm just really proud of you for coming up here and having the courage to come up here and share. Is there anything else you want to talk about before you go? Oh my, I think she must have gone off. That's okay. Thank you for coming up here, baby. I'm proud of you. Keep on going strong. Okay, we got another oh hey. Hopefully this is the one is this the one from the other day or is this a different one? Oh hey girl. Unmute yourself.
Oh no, okay, ignore the background. That is my husband's. Oh no. Okay.
That's
Woo.
okay. That's
No,
okay. What's up?
it was a BDS sub. You know what? There may be children here. I'm not going to say. Just things that children should not see. Okay. That was my husband's. I'm in the gaming room this time. But hi, Nicole. Hello.
How are you doing? I had such a good conversation with you the other day. I thought that I could have some people that are like in the audience, if they have questions, kind of like ask some short questions. You know, I don't want to keep you on here too long because I want somebody to be able to come up after you. But I kind of want to ask you about, because it was your brother. Did your brother ever try to hide the fact that he was using methamphetamine, or was he just like balls to the wall? Who cares?
Um, it was kind of both. So in the very beginning, like I showed you those pictures and everything, and I call it like the Roman Catholic boy. Yeah, those pictures, they should be in order in the text, but who knows how they sent. At the very beginning, he didn't use in front of anyone except for like friends and stuff. And my dad and my family are totally cool with people using marijuana, just like, hey, don't do it in front of the kids. Like that was like if you're going to smoke cigarettes, not in front of the kids. If you're going to smoke this, not in front of the kids. If you're going to drink, make sure it's in a specific glass and it's out of the reach of kids. Like we very strict on that. That's how that was. And a lot of those things were controlled, but it wasn't just the weed that my brother was smoking. He started to kind of go into the further stuff, like I said the other day. And when he started to use meth or salts, as you want to call it, or heroin, when he started to go into those things, it then became I don't care. So like our bedrooms were like right next to each other. And when we lived up north and everything, when I opened my door to my bedroom, it was like right into his. So there was everything was sprawled out. Bongs, spoons, lighters, like everything was sprawled out, and I was around 12. Like he did not care what was shown. If he was using in front of his own 2 kids that got taken away from him, like that was the big issue that I had personally, was that he would especially use it around his kids, and those tools were not even put away. Like if you are an addict, cool, great, glad you made a choice, but at least put them away if you have kids. I can't tell you how many times my nephew had like grabbed like one of the bongs or something and was like, hey, it's a toy. You hear all these stories, whether, especially in the South, you hear all of the stories about these kids grabbing needles from their parents' bedrooms and
or pills that have been left out and stuff like that. Yeah.
And it's not controlled. So he did and he didn't. He didn't use directly in front of me where he like offered it. But it was also an I don't care that it's sprawled out, laid out. If you catch me smoking, you catch me smoking. If you catch me doing this, you catch me doing this. That's how that kind of was.
Do you think, and this is just an opinion, I don't want you to feel like do you think because your parents were kind of like, as long as you don't do it in front of the kids, do you think like that kind of like attitude was that contributed to the fact that your brother took that, went down that path? Or, because here, I'm going to tell you from my point of view, I was from a family who my parents were like strict. They didn't drink alcohol. They didn't smoke cigarettes. Like my dad was like ruled with an iron fist. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And so we weren't allowed to we weren't even allowed to listen to freaking secular music or watch MTV or anything like that. We could only watch like shows that were about Jesus. Okay. Like really strict. And so when I got older, it was like I rebelled against all that. And I was like trying to find my own way. So what do you think about that? How do you think it contributed, or if it didn't?
It kind of did in a messed up sense. So my parents, of course, my mom and my dad are different. My mom she doesn't really like alcohol. Like if you go out to the bar and have a beer or whatever, that's fine. Okay. And my dad was like, weed's okay, but nothing else is okay. And if you're going to smoke weed, for him, it had to be for like a serious reason. Like for him, PTSD. He had the anthrax vaccine, so he cannot have antidepressants or ibuprofens or oxycodones for surgeries, anything for pain because of his liver failure. So he uses marijuana recreational. He has a VA prescription for it. So with marijuana, he was fine. But what it kind of turned into was with my brother, I guess the rebellious stages from him going to his family, his side of the biological family, and then coming back to our mom's, and he started getting to this rebellious stage. It was then more about pushing boundaries than it really was do you think it contributed? Like it didn't. It was more so, well, if I'm allowed to do this in front of them and not really getting that much trouble.
Well, can I take an inch? Give them an inch and they take a mile. There's like
and that's a very common thing with kids. I think it doesn't matter if it's addictions or not. Okay, like if you give a kid a cookie, they're gonna ask for another cookie. Okay, it's a give and take situation with children. And my brother, like I said, when he started marijuana. I think he was like 13. So around this time, I was 5 years old. So when I was 5, I had no idea what weed was. I only knew what the boogeyman was. I didn't know anything else. Okay. I didn't know what alcohol was, yada, yada. And it wasn't until he turned about like 16, so 3 years later, that now it started to really like push. And you'll see it in the pictures from like the graduating climb from
I
even when
wish
I
I
was
could
little.
show them, but you know how I put it up there? It doesn't
Yeah.
look, you can't really see it. So if you have a better way to show them,
I might be able to show them.
I do want to ask you this. Do you feel like, okay, well, I had a perfect question oh, did your parents ever sit you guys down and teach you about addiction and how using substances could have a negative effect on your life? Was there any talk about that out in the open at all?
Well, I gotta word it right. Okay, so you know in elementary schools how they'll bring in like Memorial Hospital and everything, and they'll teach you about smoking, and they'll bring in the pig lungs and everything and show you the breathing and what do they all do. You know, I would have questions and I'd bring them to my parents, like, because, you know, there'd be talks about drugs. Okay, I make the reference all the time. This is your brain. Psh, this is your brain on drugs.
That was from my day and age.
Right.
That's how they did it.
Like that was always there. And of course, me being me, because I always had questions, I always asked why, like all the time. They would answer, but they wouldn't go deep into it. With my brother, because he was already smoking marijuana, I'm sure it was different, like the conversations, because my dad was like, you know, I'm okay if you're wanting to do it. I prefer you not to. And he did try to stop it, but it was already getting to the point too late. He was finding the friends that had it and the friends of friends that had it. And he was just finding ways to go. And the more strict they were, the worse it actually became.
Do you feel like if you had been given if he had been given education, or you had been given education, like probably starting at like first grade, about the consequences and what can happen if you use drugs, do you feel like that would have, you know, changed things? Do you think that would have helped you any? Because what I do with my son, he's 8 years old, girl, and he knows exactly what will happen if you take any drug, cocaine, methamphetamine. He knows that I've been to prison. He knows the consequences of drug use. These are the things that can happen. And I'm very, very transparent with him about that. So do you think that that could have helped if your parents would have maybe sat you down and talked about that?
I think it helped with me, because I don't mean to call myself a test subject for my parents, but like my brother, he's older than me. And, you know, so they kind of see the fails of what, you know, with that brother. And then they're going to be like, okay, well, we need to do something different with, you know, this one. You know what I mean? And so the conversations of drugs didn't truly start until like I was around 11, when I was more aware medically of like things that were happening, like why is my brother in the hospital? Like it wasn't just a shock. When I started to actually be more aware of my surroundings in the world, and drugs were now becoming a huge topic as you were getting into middle school. I mean, everyone made the joke about snorting powder. Okay.
Yeah.
Everyone made that joke. You know, you crushed up a thing of Smarties and then you inhaled it and you puffed out the smoke. And the next thing you know, they went to the nurse's office for an asthma attack. Like that, they started to talk to me more about these things around 10, 11. With my brother, he was talked to about it a lot when it came to drugs, because we both were equally treated the same with how we were raised. Whenever it came to rape, the boogeyman, abuse, molestation, it started whenever I was 5, he was 5. Like those talks were there, not in detail, but were there. And then as we got older, it got more in detail. But I think his reasoning was not being curious or that he didn't know the consequences. His reasoning, I think, is truly because he was absolutely depressed. Like my brother, you know, he gamed a lot, which is fine. I game too. Like everyone games or whatever. Okay, cool. But he was going back and forth between his father and my mom. So literally cross country, Washington State to wherever we were living on the East Coast. He was going back and forth. And his family on that side were spoiling him, were enabling him, weren't giving him any consequences. And the family on our side was the strict, the harsh, the this, the that. And then his grandmother was actually trying to take us away from my mom, saying that she was unstable and all of that, to which my stepdad was like, okay, well then let's get married and you're no longer unstable according to the Roman Catholic Church, because he was Catholic. And so I think it was more from trauma than it actually was from like, hey, I don't know the consequences. It was just literally him trying to find an escape, which you said it earlier. Your first hit or your first that, it's like the first sip of alcohol, which I don't even really drink alcohol either, but I got nothing from alcohol. Alcohol is just kind of gross. But your first hit or whatever is very described. Like I take psychology courses and they talk about it. And when you take that first hit, your mind, your brain is now going to crave that specific hormone all over again. That specific pleasure hormone that you will never be able to reach, because now you're going to have to go through different tolerance levels, and now you're going to have to boost your intake constant to get that that high.
Out of all the drugs, methamphetamine, when you take it, is different. It affects the brain different than any other drug, and it releases so much dopamine. It releases more dopamine than when you're having, you know what, and get a
I know.
You know? That's how powerful it is.
Let's see if I can do it this way.
So imagine you're 16, 17 years old and you do methamphetamine for the first time, and you get that feeling that is more powerful than an orgasm, and you're like, hair standing up on your head. That's what happened to me. My hair started feeling like it was standing on my head, and my hair felt like it was growing out of my arms. Very, very, very intense. It can either do two things. It can scare the shit out of you and you'll never do it again, or you're going to be like, damn, I need to do that again. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there's no middle of the road with it.
Yeah, it was like my dad's first time. He told me his first time smoking weed back then, because weed was such a big option back in like the 80s.
It was taboo back in the day.
Everyone had it. Okay, whether you were 11, 12, okay, 9-year-olds were smoking. This was the norm. Like that's how it was.
Oh, like in the 60s and 70s or something like that.
60s, 70s, 80s, like that was the norm. Everyone had weed or everyone had cigarettes. Like that was just how it was. Yeah, at such a young age, you know. And my dad, he said his first time smoking weed, he felt, you know, wonderful by it. His second time scared the absolute shit out of him because it was laced with cocaine.
Oh yeah, that's scary.
And then the third time he went to go with them, the guy tried to shoot meth inside his arm, and he was only like 11, and he booked it. And so, like, I don't know if this will work. Okay.
Oh yeah, I can see good on yours. Mine never shut. Mine looks like crap.
There you go. So that's my brother when he was 13. Basketball, great, right? So everyone can see it. That's me and him. That's like, I call it Roman Catholic stage. You know, he looked kind of great. You know, he had like the white button down. We're going to church. Everything's great. Notice the big difference. Now, he's at this time, like 15, 16. I just want you to look at that difference. This is when it starts to get to the escapee drugs, the mushrooms, the acid, all of that. Like, that's me right there. It just continues. That's me. He's high right there. And I believe that was actually on meth. And he was around like 16, 17 years old. And then it continues. He loses more weight. That was actually when he was swimming with his baby. He's still on all these drugs. And now the heroin comes in. And then now we have crack and spice coming into play. And it just kept going.
Yeah. You can see the decline for sure.
You can see it. And then this was just when he was, this was on pure meth, pure crack, pure spice.
He looks like a different person there to me.
I know. Look at that. Look at that. Pure meth, pure crack, pure spice. And then now he's off everything. After he blew up from the meth lab, has another little boy, married, and, you know, his household income with his wife is like $100K a year. They live in a good house. They have a puppy, 3 children. It's wonderful. Look at the color in his face.
Yeah, totally different. And that's so crazy. Like, his eyes are also more alive in that picture.
They are alive.
I can always look at pictures from my past and I can see the soullessness in my eyes. It's like a dark black, like nothing, you know?
Like, that's how I explain it. Like, you look at just, like, look at that. When the meth and all that started.
Yeah.
And then you go to, now he's on pure crack spice and the sadness and the no color and everything. And then you go to completely sober. He's been sober for, let's see, since 2015.
Oh yeah, me too. That's 7 years. Yeah. Girl. That's a lot of time to be sober, especially from methamphetamine, dude. It's such a good drug to kind of like tell yourself in your brain, like, it's not that bad. It makes me work harder. It makes me focus more. Mm-hmm. And that's what a lot of people kind of get stuck with those stimulants, is because in our mind, we feel like we're doing better with it. And also, when you get off stimulants, let me just tell you, the downside of things is the never being able to feel like a normal amount of energy anymore. Like you have to, like, to me, I feel dead inside. I know that sucks to hear, but and listen, your brother's probably a lot better shape than I am. I do contribute some of that for me to overeating and like having an eating addiction, but still, like, I talk to so many people every day who are getting clean off of methamphetamine, and they say the same thing. When do I get my energy back? When do I get my energy back? I don't know, because I hadn't got mine back yet, honey.
For him, it's the same way. Like, he has like no energy. And granted, I had thyroid cancer and everything. He has hyperthyroidism. Is that the other one? The very fast one? I think that's the one. Hyper. Yeah, because hypo means slow. So he has hyperthyroidism, and he's always had that, the great metabolism, as you want to call it. So he ate a lot, all that good stuff. But when he was the one that got burnt in the meth lab and blew up, and we all had to like tell people like, no, he lit a cigarette during mowing the lawn, and that's how that happened. Because like we didn't want anybody to know. You know, especially because I was living there. We were scared of foster cares and this and that. And like, because it happened out of nowhere of he was not doing meth and not doing anything. And then within a month, he goes back to it. And then bam, we get the phone call of police officers and this, and he blew up in a meth lab. He's in a top burn unit. He's screaming whenever he's out of the sedation that his penis is mutilated and everything, and that the nurse is never going to get him laid and all that. He was all over the place.
Yeah.
He has still not gained his energy, and he still wishes sometimes to use it. Like, he still wishes to go back, because there are times where he's like really, really, really depressed. And the thing is that he's slowly trading one addiction for another, which is so common. And I think it's more common than even gambling addictions or even nicotine addictions, is if you give up your alcoholism, you're more likely to turn to drugs. If you give up your drugs, you're more likely to turn to alcoholism. So what my brother's doing is now he's starting to just go kind of towards alcoholism, but
I'll tell you, alcohol is, I would say it's worse than meth, because of how bad it is on your body and how it just kills you from the inside out.
I got the pictures of my aunt. Yes, I do. I got the pictures of my aunt, and I showed you those, and you could see it. Now, those are probably triggering to a lot more than my brother with meth, because alcoholism compared to like meth and fentanyl and everything, and I will say this, from the surface, you can tell an alcoholic more than you can tell like somebody with meth. Like if you're just looking at two people, okay, they're not saying anything, there's no actions, you're just looking at the two bodies. Okay? The one with alcoholism is usually going to be like very bloated looking, like in the liver area, very, very skinny-ish and everything. Usually
red in the face, red nose, red cheeks.
Right. And then the people that are usually using needles and all of that, and, you know, the spoons and crack pipes and all that good shit, they're just kind of like there, and you don't really get to see anything until you're like up close and you see like a sunken face, like in the cheeks a little bit more. They look drained, like a constant tired. And a lot of the times they're tweaking. A lot of the times
we're constantly
tired. Of the times they're tweaking because they're just so fucking tired. Because there are like people, like my brother, he'd stay up for like 3 days because he was using meth, and he would just constantly use, and that's how he stayed up. It was like Adderall for him. He just constantly stayed up.
Speaking of Adderall, like I know a lot of kids that are in college, like that's their gateway to meth addiction.
I hate Adderall with a passion. They put my mom on that, and I despise the doctor who did that. Like honestly, that was just cruel. So my mom's brain doesn't stop working. So what Adderall does, for those that don't know, it's Adderall for somebody that has like ADHD, makes them focus and makes their brain slow down. Kind of deal, right? Makes them kind of focus more and everything like that. For somebody that doesn't have ADHD or a fast working mind, it does the opposite. Like Family Guy depicted that very well for Adderall, which is so crazy and dumb and weird.
Isn't that weird that we have like cartoons and shit that show that kind of stuff?
Yeah. The thing is that it's Family Guy. You know, like it's Family Guy. So with people with ADHD or like fast thinking minds, the Adderall like slows them down. Well, for my mom, she looked like a true on drug addict. And those benzo drugs, those Adderall drugs, the Valium, I hate it because those drugs are actually so addicting. And I know college students right now because I'm in college.
Yep.
I am. I know them right now, and they're taking these drugs so that they can stay up late at night and constantly study for their test. And then they show up to the test and they're fucking passed out.
Yeah.
And it's sad. Adderall shouldn't even be like, it should still be under test. It shouldn't even be like,
I feel like when kids get on it, I feel like it should be like a kid who really is like an extreme case. I feel like what happened is that parents just didn't want to deal with their kids and their behaviors.
Yes.
So they just put them on this medicine to make them act right.
Yeah. And it's because those same parents, a lot of them think that autism is just a fucking tantrum. Like that, like it is those same people that think that autism is just kids that are spoiled and have tantrums.
Hey, I want to, Miss Massacre, if you want to come up, listen to me. I love you and you can always come up, but let me open up a spot for somebody else. If you want to come up at the end though, come up, okay? Text me. And if you want to, we can do like a video where it's pre-recorded and we can just talk all about drugs because I love doing it. Okay. But there's a lady in the chat right now, speaking of benzos, that's day 11 off benzo withdrawal and she's dying. Please help. So I'm about to get into that.
Oh,
thank you so much for being here and hanging out with me. Okay. You're always welcome to come up. I will never not bring you up. Okay.
All righty. Thank you so much. Bye, Nicole.
All right, girl. I love you. Bye.
Love you.
Okay. So she's just a doll. She is very, very smart. She is just amazing. She's 22. So we get going good. But I wanted to open it up, Miss Massacre, because I saw your comment about you struggling with benzos. And I know you probably don't want to come up here because you're not feeling good. But have you been able to like go to the doctor? Did they taper you off slowly? Because it's just so dangerous to come off benzos without being under medical care. And I don't want nothing bad to happen to you. So when I saw your comment, I was like, this is 911 situation, you know? I was on benzos for 13 years. I was prescribed them for a short period of time, probably like 2 or 3 years. And then I, of course, I loved them. And so I started seeking them out and I was taking like copious amounts of them. And I struggled so much to come off of them and get through not the initial withdrawal, but the post-acute withdrawal for like 8 months afterward. I just felt awful. And so I really, really hope that a doctor or somebody is overseeing you because it's deadly. And I'm not trying to scare you, but you could have a seizure and something bad could happen. My son has ADHD and the school wanted him put on meds. I said no because the school can handle it like I do. Yeah. So, and that's what I feel like, Maddie, has happened to a lot of kids. It's like, it's normal for a kid to want to talk to their neighbor in class. It's normal. Like, oh, your son doesn't need to go on Adderall because he likes to talk in class. You know what I mean? Like, he just needs to learn that there's a time and a place to talk. Recess is a great time. And other times he needs to listen, I love what you're doing. You've helped me a lot with understanding my mother and father meth and heroin addiction. I've been dealing with it since I was 15 and I'm 19 now. Hey, Callie, you can always come up and share if you feel comfortable. You don't have to show your face, okay? Cold turkey. Yeah, please. I'm telling you, girl, you need to go to the emergency room right the fuck now. Okay? You need to go to the emergency room or you need to call your primary care physician because something bad can happen. Please, 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 at least go see your doctor. Okay. So that way they can make sure you're okay. My daughter's friend's 13 years old. So many kids her age going on Adderall. Yeah. My youngest son has ADHD. And when they upped his medicine, he was spaced out. Oh yeah, for sure. We're praying for you, Miss Massacre. We really are, for sure. Hey, Lisa, what's up, girl? So, and just so everybody knows in here, like, I'm not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor. I'm literally a drug addict who has done so many drugs that I should not even be alive. And I like to talk about drugs and help people who have drug problems. So if you're somebody who's in here and you're like hanging on my every word, please don't do that. Like, go out and do your research, go and see a doctor, like really, 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 really please don't listen to everything I say, because a lot of the stuff I say is just my opinion now, but you do listen to me when I tell you if you are coming off benzos, you need to see a doctor, because that kind of stuff can be really detrimental to you. So if anybody else wants to come up and share, I'm going to put the link for the YouTube side. Sorry about that. I'm going to post it in the chat right now. And I really think Hey and me are probably going to like just make our own live stream day where she can come on and we can talk about what's going on with kids in college, since she has like she's plugged into that, you know, because she's in college. We could talk about that. We could talk about what in that post? We could talk about, you know, just what's cool and hip around amongst the kids nowadays and what they're doing. Like, I want to know all of it, you know? Hey, Yoda, what's up? Recently, 6 kids were found OD'd in a Hollywood high school. They took a fentanyl pill and a 15-year-old died. So sad. Yeah. So imagine you're in like fucking 8th grade and your friend comes to school with like these pills that are like different colors. They look like Skittles, right? And they're like, these are so great, blah blah blah, and you take one and you die. So when I was a kid in high school, you know, fentanyl wasn't even talked about. That wasn't even a thought. And so we could experiment. We had time to experiment and try things and, you know, not die. You guys nowadays, listen to me, teenagers. You don't have a chance to experiment. Your first time could be the last. It literally could drop you, kill you dead. Love what you're doing and how you support others. I've been watching you since you started, and it's helped me separate myself from my addicted family members. Yeah, Callie. So I'm so glad you said that. So you are, for any of you guys that are in here that are listening, or maybe you don't feel like coming up and sharing, your parent's addiction is no reflection of you as a child. I don't care if you were the most ornery, bad motherfucking kid ever. Your parent's addiction has nothing to do with you. It has nothing to do with you. It's not your fault. You don't have to carry any of that. Okay. Which I know me saying that doesn't take that burden away. And it's hard to just say, well, you know, but I really hope that you guys can hear what I'm saying. Like my addiction, my son, he saved me from my addiction. He's the reason why I changed my life, because he was born and I was struggling for a year after he was born. And he was what actually made me want to do better and be a better person, you know? So I'm very fortunate. I'm sure if your parents are struggling, that they want to get better for you. They just don't know how. And that's what happens to a lot of people, is there are not a lot of resources, and people don't talk about addiction in their families like I do here on YouTube, you know? And so just think about it. It's looked at as something that is like disgusting and shameful and super stigmatized. And so a lot of people in the family units don't talk about these things. They just push that kind of stuff underneath the rug and they hide it, you know? And so therefore, those of you guys that are growing up in these households where you have a mother or father that's struggling with addiction, or a brother or sister, nobody is like tackling that situation head on. Now, there are some badass moms out there who just like don't take shit from nobody, and they see that their kids are struggling and they go all in and they start making shit happen. But a lot of people are afraid to, because they're afraid of judgment. Somebody commented on my video the other day and they said, aren't you afraid about all the personal information that you put out online about how it could affect you or your kid or your husband? And no, I'm not, because I'm so transparent. Everything in my life is literally here for you to see. I have nothing to hide, nothing. And I would rather my son have an education on addiction and know what's up than to be walking around not knowing a damn thing, and somebody hand him cocaine or meth or Molly, and he thinks, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I can just try it. Nothing bad will happen. I would rather my son know exactly what will happen or what could happen, because I just don't want him to be caught off guard. Because I know when I was in high school, it was like drugs were right there. Kids were bringing drugs into our English class. I snorted cocaine off my desk one time in English class. Okay. Like I know that this shit happens, and I'm not ever going to act like it doesn't. One of the things that I do with my son is I let him know that he can come to me and talk to me about anything, and he doesn't have to be embarrassed or ashamed, and I'm never going to get mad at him. So if he decided to go out and do something, he could come to me and tell me. I'm not going to get mad at him. He's not going to get in trouble. He's not going to get punished, you know? Hold on. Let me read y'all's comments. Maddie says, my mom got fentanyl patches because she had lupus and fibromyalgia. Neil?
Sorry.
That's scary.
That whole thing killed him.
My dad started eating. I thought my husband just fell out, but he dropped something. I always think that he fell out. I don't know why. I'm waiting for him to have a damn heart attack or something. My dad started eating them. I hear people dying from fentanyl. I used to get patches and chew them like bubble gum for a day. I'm not sure how I didn't die because it seems to kill everyone. It's sad. So yeah, Maddie, those are time release, right? And even though you're breaking the seal or whatever, and it's getting in your mouth, like it's the fentanyl that they give you at the hospital, and then the analogs of fentanyl that they're passing off in these different drugs and stuff. Like it's like different analogs. I'm not like a scientist or anything, but like there's some analogs that are stronger than other ones, like thousands and thousands of more stronger. And so I think that's why we see people
They go by micrograms too.
I think that's why we see people dying from illicit fentanyl because of that reason. I lost my stepsister 2 years ago. She tried cocaine for the first time and died from fentanyl intoxication. Yep. I'm so sorry, Wendy. I really, really am. I can agree. They say everything is laced with Fenty. Carts and pills are the most common I've seen. I wish my mom had the same thought process of you. Well, honey, listen to me. I didn't just wake up one day and have this thought process. I was addicted for 15 years of my life, from the time I was 17 years old to the time I was 31. Okay. I just didn't have children until late in life. Okay. If I had done like my mother and father had done, I would have had my kid at 19 years old, and he would have gone through all of my addiction with me. And it's not because I was like, I'm not having kids, I'm having sex with protection. Nope, because that didn't even cross my mind. It's literally because God didn't want me to have kids at that age, and he protected my soon-to-be son from a life of living hell if he was born when I was, on drugs, when I was, in my addiction for a long time. Nate was born when I was on drugs, and I got sober 1 year after he was born. And I'm very fortunate that he was just a baby at that time, because if it was a situation where he was much older, he would have been drugged through that whole time with me. And it was no way to live. I never had a place to live. I never had stability. When I did have places to live, it was conditional. Like, you pay half of our rent, or, you give me this for that and I'll give you that. So I never owned my own place. You know what I mean? So it would have been no place for me to be dragging a little baby around. A girl died in my school from it when I lived in PA, and they had a big deal on the addiction to energy drinks compared to drugs, believe it or not. So yeah, I do believe that these energy drinks, Monsters and stuff like that, there's this one called Redline that is really, really strong, and it can give you a heart attack, what I've heard. If you think energy drinks are strong, then you don't ever want to do anything like meth, because it will literally, it's just horrible. It's shrooms and acid and LSD and weed. College is Adderall and the energy scoops, legit snorting it. Oh, I know. They take those dry scoops, which is, ugh. Oh, yeah. Just so you guys know, if you're somebody who's in recovery and you want to come up and share, you can come up and share too. I forgot to tell you all that. I often hear people say, yeah, I smoke or use, but I don't do it in front of my kids, so they don't know. Does anyone in here have an opinion on this? They know. They know. Let me tell you something about my son, okay? I had gotten these medical marijuana gummies, and I, was taking them every now and then for depression, anxiety, that kind of shit. And when I would take those gummies, my son knew that I was different. He was like, why are you laughing so much? This ain't like you. He knew. And so you think that your kids don't know? You think that you're being slick? They know. They know. Jessica, I didn't use in front of my kids, but my son still knew what I was doing. My kids didn't see anything, but it still affected them because I was there physically and maintaining their needs, but I wasn't there mentally. I was a great mom, even using, but I still wasn't there all the way. Yeah. And so, Maddie, I feel the way you feel, but I also just recently, because I've been having all these kids up here sharing about their experiences, like, because I used to say, you know, Nate was only 1, he didn't know, or he didn't go through anything because of my addiction, but he did. He got taken away from me at 1. And I just thought about it, like being a baby and waking up in a house that's not yours, in arms that are not your mom's. And so somebody commented and said that we like carry trauma in our body. And that's really freaking true, dude. Kids know what's behind closed doors. Kids know when you are on your bad day. Kids can smell it, see it, and all. Even if you think you hit it, they found it. Yeah. Kids are very, very, because they're with us every day, right? So they know how we act on our regular days. So when we're acting out of character, not like ourselves, of course they're going to know, you know, what's really going on. I feel immense amounts of guilt and shame because of my addiction and my child. And I wish that I could go back and I could change it. Like if there's one thing in the world that I could go back and change, that would be the one thing. Nothing else. I could just change, and I would have gotten sober when I got pregnant with my son. You know what I mean? But you know, I can't time travel, so I can't go back in time and like change that. But I'll tell you guys this, if you're somebody who's struggling with addiction and you think, you know, your kids don't know, or because they're with family that they are affected by it, like they are. And being away from you is enough of an effectiveness for them to have to, you know, feel unwanted, feel unloved, feel not important enough. And those are the things that they carry with them into their, you know, grade school, high school, feeling like they weren't important enough for their parents to get better. And if that's not a motivation for you to change your life, then I don't know what is, dude. I just feel like having my child really changed my outlook on everything. And I look at my life as I'm just here to please him. I'm here. I'm Nate's the master, and I'm just here for the show. I'm just doing what my son needs me to do and take care of him and let him have a great life, because I lived my life. I partied. I fucking partied. Okay. I partied hard. And so I got all that shit out of my system. I'm 40 years old. What I've always wondered is when I see parents who are like 45, 50, 60 years old and they're still getting high and fucked up. Like, I think like, I don't want to be that. I don't want to be 50 years old and getting fucked up. You know what I mean? I want to have an established place to live. I want my son to know he can come to me and talk to me about anything. And so, and not that I'm shaming anybody who is still using at those ages. I just couldn't do it. I can't do it. I really want my son to have a fighting chance at life. And I feel like for him to have a fighting chance at life, I need to keep doing the right thing. Do you think the music industry affects kids that get curious to use? Yeah, for sure. Because all these rappers talk about different drugs in their songs now. Back in the day, it wasn't like that. Back in the day, it was like real rap, you know? Now, there was gangster rap and they were talking about shooting people and stuff. But now it's more of like, you know, getting high and partying and all that kind of stuff. I still carry guilt for my 4 kids. I used every pregnancy. I tried to quit, but I was scared to reach out because I didn't want to lose my kids. Yeah. So that's why no mothers reach out. Okay. Because they feel ashamed, because they don't want to get their kids taken away. That's why every single pregnant woman I've ever talked to doesn't reach out. Kelly says, I'm 52 and it sucks. So you better not do this shit. Hell yeah, Kelly. Hell yeah. And I look to people like Kelly who are getting sober at an older age. And I'm like, Hell yeah, man. I don't want to go down that road. Kelly, you guys who are older than like in your 50s and older, y'all should start making YouTube channels and or Facebook accounts and sharing about how addiction is when you get older, how it affects your life, maybe like the repercussions that you have had to experience because of your addiction. Maybe you were a homeowner when you were in your 20s and 30s, but now because your drug addiction, you lost everything. Like, I think that's really important, you know? When you lose your kids, you lose hope, and no hope is dangerous. That's when I relapsed, was when they took my kids. Yeah. And that's what I feel like happens to a lot of people. That's why I believe that if a mother is struggling with addiction, they should allow her and her children to go into treatment together. But y'all, my husband just got home. I'm going to jump off here because I came on at 3 instead of 3:45. But I'll come back on. Just give me a little bit to hang out. And my son needs to eat something too. And oh, hey, text me so that way we can plan a live stream where it's just you and me. Okay. But you guys are always welcome to come up here and share. You don't ever have to be embarrassed or ashamed or think that anybody is going to like judge you. Okay. We're just here talking about, addiction and drugs. It's not that deep. You don't have to worry about people clicking up or nothing like that. We're all pretty, we're one. We're unified. That's what we are. We're unified. And I try to offer support to all you guys. Now, just one thing. I'm struggling to get to all them DMs on Facebook, you guys. So if you're somebody who's like an emergency situation, you can call the 1-800 number right there. It comes straight to my phone. But otherwise, you just need to email me if you can't get me through my messenger. Okay. So I'm really, really happy that you guys came and hung out with me today. I thought that we would have a few more people who wanted to come up, but people are being shy, and that's okay. I understand. I don't want you guys to feel pressured to come up. Okay. But I will have Ohey on, and we will talk all about drugs. So since I know I got me a co-host, we're all good to go. Okay. Britt says, I was allowed to take my kids to treatment, but I had to pick 2 out of 3 kids, so I refused. Oh, damn. Why wouldn't they let you take all of them? That's not right.
That's weird.
2 out of 3, like leaving one of them out? Yeah, I don't like that either, especially if they were little. Now I can understand if one was like really old, like 15, 16 years old, and they could just go stay with a family member. And then you had like under 5-year-olds, then I can understand. But leaving one behind, that's not cool. All right, you guys. I love you guys. I hope you enjoyed coming up with me. Thank you, Ohey, for coming up here and being my co-host for a little bit. I really appreciate you, girl, for being just like willing to share about your family and being so open. Thank you so much, because you might not realize it, but there's parents in here. They might not be commenting, but they're in here listening. They're in here listening to every single bit, so that way they can learn how to not make the same mistakes. All right. Love you guys. See you later.